So my friend was murdered. It was ruled as self-unaliving, so allegedly he was murdered, but I'm going to link everything below. I'm going to tell you the story because I really want to raise awareness about this before this app goes away. So his name is David Elmquist. He graduated class of 2011 from Desco Cato High School. He was honestly an amazing guy. Red hair, freckles, light of the party. Right out of high school, he gets married and they move to the Dakotas. Do you remember when there was like a big oil boom in the Dakotas around 2012, 2013? Well, that's when he moved out to the Dakotas and he absolutely loved it out there. It was like his dream job. He would go on and on and on about how much he loved this job. He loved it so much, but his wife absolutely hated living out there. So she was like, can we please move back to Minnesota? I hate it. And finally he caved. So they moved back to Minnesota. Well, right after they get back to Minnesota, David starts experiencing like a mental crisis and he starts kind of having like a weird mental breakdown. So a couple days before all of this happened, David's parents get a phone call from his wife and she's like, you need to come over here. He's acting super weird and I can't get him to stop. I really need you to come over here. So they get over there and they find David naked in the living room on all fours saying some religious jargon like, I'm the next Jesus, I'm reincarnated, Jesus is talking to me, you know, something like that. And they were like, okay, what the heck is going on? And his wife is like, he's done this before. I don't know what to do. He just keeps doing this. So she gets down in his face, right at his eye level, and smacks him in the face and is like, knock it off. You need to stop. And his parents are like, whoa, calm down, like it's okay. And she's like, this is the only thing that's worked before. I don't know how to get him to stop besides to smack him out of this, to snap him out of it. And they were like, okay, but you know, chill. They get David to snap out of it. They get him all situated. They go back home and obviously they're checking on him, right? Because that was really strange, really weird. They're checking to make sure that their son's okay. He's slowly starting to snap out of it. Things are starting to get better for him. And he finally goes to his parents and says, hey, like, I don't know what's going on with me, but I think I need to ask for a divorce from my wife. I don't want to be with her anymore. Like, I'm going to ask for a divorce tonight. Well, a couple hours later, he's engulfed in flames and he is no longer with us. And here's why I think it's really suspicious, and here's why allegedly I think it was her. So when he was found, he was covered head to toe in industrial oil, literally straight from the rig, straight from the place that he worked from. I don't know the technical terms for it, but if you know anything about this oil, like you need a very specific type of heat source. You need to have a very specific set of conditions for this oil to ignite at all. So he's covered head to toe in this industrial oil, but there was nothing at the scene that could have started the fire, not even a lighter. Like there was nothing at the scene that could have started the fire at all. Nothing. And there was no gasoline, no lighter fluid, nothing. So how did this fire start? And who started the fire? How did this start? How did this happen? If there was no lighter at the scene, nothing to even start the fire, and there was nothing to even ignite the fire, how did this happen? So his wife says that she leaves, she grabs her dog and her stuff, and she gets out of the apartment because he set himself on fire. The maintenance man sees some smoke, sees some commotion, goes to the apartment and sees that he's on fire. So he extinguishes him with a fire extinguisher and then leaves. In between this time, I don't know who called the police. I believe it was his wife. She called the police and was like, hey, my husband's upstairs literally on fire. She told the police that the door was locked. She told the police that David pushed her out and locked the door behind him. But the maintenance man followed right behind her and was able to get in and then extinguish the fire. So the door wasn't even locked. That means David didn't push her out and lock the door. So the firefighters get there, the police get there, and they believe that the door is locked. They believe that David is armed and dangerous because I believe she said that he had a knife, or they think that there was a knife. But they get in 38 minutes after arriving on the scene. 38 minutes after arriving on the scene, they finally render David some assistance. At this point, his eyes have melted out of his head. He's beyond saving. He's beyond saving. He is going to die. Knives in the knife holder are not even disturbed by any ash, so there's no way that there was any knives taken out. He didn't even touch a knife. And I believe, according to first responders, when they got there, he was literally laying on the floor in the entryway, probably waiting for someone to come help him. They get him to the hospital. Everybody's at the hospital. His family, his wife, everybody's there. Well, his family spend some time with him, and then say, you know what, we're going to go home. We're going to leave you two alone. I know that you know, this is really rough. We don't know if he's going to make it, and we're going to give you guys some space and give you guys some personal time. Well, right after they leave, David's wife leaves and she goes home. And David dies alone in the hospital, all alone. When the police interview her, at first she's like, I have no idea why he would do this. I have no clue why this would even happen, like why he would even do this. And then they bring up like what his parents said. They were like, well, wasn't he experiencing some mental problems at the time? And she was like, well, yeah, I guess that was happening. So yeah, maybe. She didn't even bring that up. Then, after she gets home, she magically finds the lighter in the middle of the crime scene on the table. So after the investigators were there searching the entire area, they couldn't find the lighter, but after you get home, you find the lighter right out in the open. And then, she didn't even go get his ashes. Like, his ashes sat at the funeral home for months. She didn't even go get them. And from what I remember, I'm not 100%, she wouldn't let his parents go get them either. She just didn't let nobody get them. She let them sit there. And then, all of that could be circumstantial. All of that could be circumstantial. This is what makes me think that she had something to do with it. Okay, let me explain. So David was covered head to toe in this industrial oil, besides two spots. There was a spot here and a spot here. Just vertical little lines, about this big, across both of his underarms, right? And the medical examiner didn't even notice this at first. It was David's dad who pointed it out and was like, what's this? That's very interesting. And they were like, So they go back through the crime scene photos and they notice right on the sink, okay, there's oil all over the sink except for two clean patches that match exactly to where David's arms were. Meaning, both of David's arms were on the counter when the oil was poured over him. All of this is alleged. I'm just going based off of memory, based off of facts. I'm going to link a more in-depth YouTube video below that really goes into detail about what happened, and his family was involved in the making of this YouTube video, so it's going to be a lot more accurate. Also, I'm going to link a GoFundMe and a petition that you can sign at the bottom, just to try and help. They're trying to reinvestigate the case, get the case opened up again, and just get it looked at, because there's some things that don't make sense. And, you know, if they can find something that makes sense, that exonerates, you know, the wife, great. That's awesome. That's awesome. But if we can also find evidence to prove that maybe something else happened, we can get justice for David, because this is allegedly ridiculous.